Be unafraid. I think people they hold themselves back, and as a result, the people around them, and as leaders. So, be unafraid. Ask questions. Just take chances, right? So it's what's the worst that can happen, right? So I think that being unafraid of things is something that I take to heart, and something that makes me uncomfortable. Be like, it's like, just do it. I've learned that 9 out of 10 times I'm much happier on the other side. So I'm like, all right, those are good odds. I'll take them.
Welcome to the Trailblazers podcast presented by BST Global, where we feature the visionaries that are helping to shape the AEC industry of the future. My name is Javier Baldor, Chief Executive Officer of BST Global, and your host. Today, I'm joined by Ricardo Lorenzo, Chief Technology Officer at Parsons Corporation. Welcome, Ricardo.
Hey, thanks, Javier. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about Parsons Corporation and really your role there and how you came to join Parsons.
Certainly. So, Parsons, we're celebrating our 80th year anniversary this year, so it's quite exciting. We've had a long, rich history in the AEC community. Typical work, right? Rail, water, wastewater, bridges, highways, things of that nature globally. So we have a big presence in Middle East, in Canada, North America. That's one part of our business. The other part of our business comes from our federal solutions part of our portfolio. So that's kind of where we do support the services for national security type work, developing technologies, supporting them systems engineering and work around cyberspace, things of that nature.
Yeah, looking forward to talking about that.
That's pretty exciting.
Tell me about your personal journey, your role at Parsons, and really how you got there, where you came from.
Yeah, so I started, by degree, I'm an electrical engineer. Started my career doing software development. For primarily my background is on the defense, Department of Defense side. So always a solutions architect, always a technologist of sorts. Started working through the business aspect of how do you get technology deployed operationally in whatever area that might be. You fast forward, did that for a number of years. We were in a smaller company, which Parsons acquired. And then since then, it's kind of exploded. Parsons has taken this mantra of, deploying technology, solutions-oriented organization on both of our segments, our federal segment and our critical infrastructure segment. And I've been very lucky to be the first Chief Technology Officer for Parsons as part of this vision. I have the privilege of working across both of our sectors. So even though my background is in one, I've learned a ton about the AEC community over the past 7 years, and looking how we can deploy capabilities to our customers, to gain efficiencies, productivity, and work on some of these very large projects, and identify ways how we can do it better, more sustainable, and things of that nature.
Tell me about what fuels and inspires you.
I have to say I'm very passionate about the mission. And to me, mission, although it sounds like a military term, means, a task or a function, right? So a mission to me could be, hey, we're trying to solve this problem in the cyberspace, for example. Or, hey, we encounter a lot of challenges in our giga projects in the Middle East. So looking at those missions, if you will, and say, all right, how can we use the capacity from an organization like Parsons, and how can we bring the biggest minds together to address this challenge? I'm a solutioner by heart, right? So whenever a big challenge is faced, we apply either technology or complex processes, and we accomplish a specific mission. Is usually what drives me.
So tell me about some of the important lessons you've learned in your career, as you have a very diverse background. Tell me about some of those lessons.
I've always told folks, don't be afraid of asking questions. Be inquisitive. I think that always looking for a way of either learning or not being afraid of just looking dumb, right? So people are often afraid, and oftentimes there's more folks either in the room or in the audience who are asking the same question. So I think not only does one gain the information, but you're also benefiting the people around you.
We're going to shift gears, talk a little bit of tech.
Yes,
Okay,
let's do it.
AI. You're at the AI Summit. Really,
Yes.
super excited to have you part
Thank you.
of our summit. What impact do you think AI will have on our industry? If you were to describe it in one word.
I don't know if I can put it in one word, but I would say there's definitely going to be an impact. I think in the AEC industry, just as much as everywhere else. I think that it is, while it may be it may be a hype cycle or a lot of noise, if you will, around it. I think the technology is here to stay. I think that there's going to be impacts that people find uses for. There's going to be a lot of areas where perhaps it's not the right use case or the right area for application of that technology, but that doesn't mean that it's useless or it's not going to be able to be leveraged elsewhere. So I think within AEC, where there's the data sets are so huge, and there's a tremendous amount of opportunity to find to gain efficiencies or to get better productivity on top of the work that we do. So I do think that over time, I don't know when or how, but I certainly feel that it's here to stay. And then if we have this podcast, 15 years from now, it's going to be some new emerging tech, and it'll be like, remember when we talked about AI? That's just so 2024.
Yeah, I tell you, as a sidebar, I announced this AI summit at a CEO conference last fall.
Yeah.
Your CEO, Carrie Smith, was a fellow panelist, and she was speaking about AI and its application at Parsons, and she said, "We're in." From the very first moment that I met her, I happened to be sitting next to her on this panel, and so impressive in terms of her grasp of the technology. I imagine that must be extremely beneficial for you personally as you look to implement some of these leading edge AI and machine learning solutions at Parsons.
Yeah, I'm privileged to be in this role. We're not risk adverse when it comes to looking at tech and our understanding of, hey, there is value to be had. So let's with precaution, right, and with the right measures, let's explore and see how we can take advantage. For one, as a business, to grow the business, but also kind of how do we support our customers in application of tech. As a technologist, I feel very fortunate that I have that ability. From my leadership, basically saying, hey, we're all in. We want to find the value in this. Rico, go, right? How do we then exploit this throughout the entire organization? Garner value to help us grow the organization, our stakeholders, our shareholders, but also our customers. So it's very exciting.
So let's dive in a little bit more. Specifically, what is Parsons doing with AI innovatively as you focus on outcomes for your clients globally?
One immediate on the AEC side of the house that comes to mind is construction supervision. I mean, I think that's an area where, especially in these locations where we are very distant, right? And especially in the Middle East, where the amount of cost and time we're spent in the PMCM world, that's one area where we're leveraging AI on that part of the business pretty effectively, I would say. Internally, there's a number of use cases that we're looking at, identifying, hey, where we can gain efficiencies, proposal development, or even in our internal systems, HR and things of that nature. So I think there's a couple of use cases there that have already resulted some fruit. And then I would say on our development side of the house for our federal space, there's a number of customers who are very aggressive in applying the technology. As you would imagine, there's large data sets that we support in many of the communities that we do. So in that side, we're less of a consumer of AI, more of a developer of AI. I would say decision-making tools is one of the things that we're seeing a lot of traction in helping commanders make smarter decisions with all the data they're receiving.
Did my homework coming into this segment, and I saw that Parsons made a press release back in March of 2021.
Okay.
So that's 3 years ago, talking about artificial intelligence in decision-making.
Yes.
And the safety of operating equipment, streamlining business processes, and protecting critical infrastructure. So it's all the hype right now, and you all were there 3 years ago. That's impressive.
Yeah, another, you asked me earlier about my role, right? So another part that I find interesting is the application of technologies from one segment to the other, right? So this is an example of, on the federal segment, there's a lot of R&D, right? And the government spends, on R&D. So we've been dabbling and playing with AI for quite some time. Sometimes in a basement somewhere, or very small researchy projects with the DoD and the services. So our ability to say, hey, we understand, we have the basic knowledge of a lot of these things. So it's not new to us. So then, for us, it became a springboard of hey, how can we then apply this knowledge, apply this tech, apply this information that we've garnered over the years into this new mission area. And then, of course, that's the mission-driven that drives us.
Can come from a couple of other different lenses.
Okay.
Talk to me the reaction from your customers as well as your employees to Parsons' adoption of AI. What has that been?
So on the customer front, we see both ends of the spectrum. We have the risk-adverse customers that are like, nope, not going there, not doing it, too many risks, I don't understand it, not touching it, right? And then we have on the other side customers who are like, all in, give me more. I don't know exactly what it is, but give it to me, right? Kind of thing. And, and somewhere in between. So I would say it depends on our customer base. So we lean forward on those who are more open, right? And take measured risks to help them apply AI in the areas that they're supporting. Internally, it's been actually quite rewarding for us. We set up to put an AI policy in place, an AI strategy. Upskilling our workforce is one of our tenets for it. In our community, we have AEC engineers, so civil engineers working on bridges, railways. On the other end of the spectrum, we have data scientists working for classified programs, right, and things of that nature. So we have to tailor our AI application to a wide scope of employees. So I've had employees who are very excited and they want to be like level 5, super into it, and then we have others that are like, wait a second, what is this? What is AI? How do you work it? So it's been very rewarding to upskill the workforce and train them and seeing how people are inquisitive about it.
I'll tag on to that a bit more. Upskilling. What does that look like? I mean, as we talk with many global firms, people are saying we need to retrain, upskill, because the skills are beyond being a civil engineer, as you well know. It's now bleeding into software engineering and data sciences and those kind of things. So where are those skills coming from? They're not ready coming into Parsons, I would imagine. So what are you all doing on that front? And again, the receptivity by your staff to this next generation of skills.
So we're doing a couple things. So anywhere from leveraging our internal resources, online, basic online training, right? And say, okay, here are some tools so you can self-educate. We're also putting tools in their hands. I'm a big believer in the OJT, if you will, on the job training. So like tinkering with things helps folks. So we're providing some training, two, providing tools so they can play with it. We have partnerships with a number of vendors, AWS and others, where we do challenges. So every year we do an AI. We've been doing it for 3 years now.
That's
we do
cool.
an AI challenge where we bring the whole community and say, all right, last year was connected cars. Last year was about building music. So people will come in, play with it. We do a competition, they get rewarded, cool. And it's often the results, the feedback that we get is again very rewarding in the sense like it was our civil engineering team from Saudi Arabia ended up winning one year. You would expect that it was awesome. Like our data scientists from doing software development, but and last year was our marketing team won the music one. So it's been in all hands. People are very excited about it. So anywhere from just classical training, online training, providing some other additional educational resources. Hands-on, getting people to tinker and play with it. I think it's important, and make it fun, right? So, if you give it exciting, put some marketing around it, get people to participate, some rewards, I think goes a long way.
Music, I love it.
It's great. It's awesome. Our board is very interested in too, so it comes all over here from the top. as far as like, hey, what are we doing? How are we applying it? And how we're measuring risk.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me at all. Top priority and plan investment at Parsons with AI or big data or machine learning, if you mind sharing with our audience, and why?
Yeah.
What is that use case that has a prize for you all?
So we are very focused, not fall in the trap of, hey, AI for the sake of AI, or hey, because we can splash the term AI on a specific investment request is guaranteed. So we're very focused on two things. One is business outcomes, right? It's like exactly what is it that we want to get out of this AI application within our business. And two, quantifying to the best degree possible, the returns, right? The typical business case associated for it. So, so we're looking at, we've gone, as you mentioned, Carrie's very driven and very in, I say we're in. So we've gone across the entire organization and say, all right, everyone, right? Think of ways. You're at the tip of the spear. You're the ones doing the jobs every day. Where can AI make your life better, easier, more efficient, more productive? And it was overwhelming. I'm managing, not implementing, but managing like over 100 use cases that came from the organization.
My goodness.
So then we had to like sift through and say, all right, let's figure out what the business outcome is, what's the return, what's the investment. And we're narrowing it down. We've had a couple pilots going on, a couple projects, mostly internally around business development seems to be an area, construction supervision we talked about, and some other potential areas where we see, okay, there is a clear business outcome. And it's either a return on growth, it differentiates us within the community to win more work or win more effectively, or perhaps makes our internal processes more effective or more efficient, and therefore reducing headcount, or folks can now spend their time, instead of processing tons of expense reports, now doing it, something more meaningful.
Talk to me about data.
Yes.
Obviously, as you look forward, I'd seen, based again on my research, a lot of machine learning and those kind of initiatives on at Parsons. Talk to me about your data strategy, how you came to it, where's it going?
It's a work in progress. As a very diverse organization, I mentioned we have two segments. So we have project data in one part of our business, or actually in multiple parts of our business. We have sensitive data for some of our other software development capabilities. On one side, we have ERP data. So, so much like many other organizations, we're looking at, okay, what makes sense, right? What's the cost of storing data? It's a consideration, and how do we make it more effective? Where are the areas that we need touch points? Where does our ERP data need to touch our project data so we can gain those efficiencies? So, I think that we're in the journey, I would say, as far as figuring out where those outcomes are best benefited. I think within the pockets of the organizations that have their data warehouses, those are known, and those are the ones we've been working against. But now we're in the stage of, okay, with all this, this capability around us, where are those touch points? Where are those things that perhaps we're doing manual integrations that now we can automate? Where are those areas that perhaps before we couldn't explore, but now that we can? How do you tie project data with our ERP data, things like that?
Talk to me about security and this new world. Obviously, AI is such promise, but there are risks, right? There are a lot of risks, bias, attribution, other things, but security is in cyber threats and those kind of things. Talk to me about how you're meeting that challenge.
Near and dear to my heart, presentation here in this summit is around that. You have the typical cybersecurity risks that we've all, been grappling with, right? AI opens a new attack vector, period, right? So now you have to worry about protecting your training data, right? Because oftentimes have proprietary information. You have to worry about protecting your models. It's very resource intensive to train models. So model theft, right? All these things are now a risk factor that perhaps, throwing a firewall or, putting some cyber policies before would address it. Now you have to worry about these other things that I don't know that the community at large is still we're still trying to figure out how do we use AI yet. Hey, how can this new attack vector, disrupt my business? So it's something that we take very seriously. I'd like to say that because we work on two parts of our our portfolio has the national security and critical infrastructure. We tend to be a little bit more paranoid than most. I know I certainly am. So certainly we start looking at those. So we implement governance structure with our CISOs, and our chief risk officer is tightly coupled with our application of AI. So we have processes in place when we manage these use cases to ensure that we are looking at all the different elements that are risk potentials for it. We leverage frameworks that are outside from standards communities to kind of help us with those things. But certainly is something that we're all in, and you'll hear me talk about AI, but also I'll talk about the word risk, right? We all know about biases and all these more mainstream. We're always concerned about, the non-mainstream risk threats, and kind of how can we make sure that we're protecting ourselves, our data, and of course our customers' data.
Yeah, given your federal work, you are better position, perhaps more.
Yes, that's a better term.
Not ultimately protected, but better position, I would imagine, given your personal experience and Parsons' position. Tell me, as we wrap up, best advice you've ever received, and how did you apply it in your career?
Be unafraid. It's. I think people they hold themselves back, and as a result, the people around them, and as leaders, so. Be unafraid. Ask questions. Just take chances, right? So it's what's the worst that can happen, right? So I think that being unafraid of things is something that I take to heart, and something that makes me uncomfortable. Be like, it's like, just do it. What's with it? I've learned that 9 out of 10 times I'm much happier on the other side. So I'm like, all right, those are good odds. I'll take them.
Love that. Our audience, there's probably someone saying, I want to be like, Ricardo and be a CTO of a global, global firm of such prominence and reputation. What advice would you give them?
Of course, there's the usual, you got to work hard, you got to gain experiences. Along the mantra of being unafraid and asking questions, look for diversity, right? So explore as a technologist. I think of my career, I started as a software developer, right? And that was my world for many years. But then I realized that, leaders that I was looking up to, they have a very diverse background, very diverse experiences. So I took it upon myself and said, all right, I need to gain broadness. Maybe it's not something I'm so much interested in, but like that led me along the way of learning different aspects and broadening my background. Of course, mentorship. You can't get to a leadership role without having the right mentors and people putting bets on you. Mm-hmm. So clearly seeking out those individuals that you feel you can gain something from is key. But yeah, no, I would say broad. The broader you are, the more you can offer. Communication and be unafraid.
Looking forward now. 5-10 years horizon.
Okay.
We're recording this segment. What is the post AI or mid AI world look like, and big data world look like? At what does Parsons look like in light of what is happening right now, this generational change, and what does our industry look like from a perspective of maybe 5 years out or 10 years out?
I think that it will be robots. so clearly not that. But I think that once the hype dies and the dust settles a little bit, much like if I was to go back to think to cloud and some of these other emerging technologies and how they've changed how we do business, I think that once it settles, we'll find the areas, the community at large will find areas where it's beneficial, right? And I think we will settle in areas that we will go back and look and be like, oh, remember when we used to do X, Y, Z this way? Now we can't live without insert technology here. Certainly, I think that decision making is becoming faster and more efficient. So I think as I look at different organizations, we're just going to grow. We're just going to make decisions faster, probably better educated decisions based on data, which I think will open a lot of doors for a number of other emerging things that are coming up. So I would say faster decision making. I think companies will start taking a lot more. More. Going after more work or bigger projects or acquiring more companies, things of that nature, just because we have now the ability and the capacity to do so.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for joining us on this segment of Trailblazers.
This has been great.
It's been an awesome dialogue, and really have enjoyed the discussion. I want to wish you and Carrie and Parsons Corporation the very best on this journey as you continue to embrace AI and big data and reimagine Parsons Corporation. Thank you very much for being here today.
No, thanks for having us. It's been great. It's been great meeting the BST team and the great work that you guys do. So I'm happy to be part of this dialogue and continue the conversation.
Awesome. And thank you all for joining us on this segment of the Trailblazers podcast. Until next time, take care.